Hello everyone, Burb here. The Halloween banner is releasing in a couple of days, and it is a double banner, which means I need to start getting these guides out for each of the two characters on the banner. We are going to focus on Agnes Digital Halloween today, but before that, I will go and talk about the banner as a whole. First of all, if you are an Oshi player for Agnes Digital, this is a perfectly serviceable version of Agnes Digital. She is believed to be a side grade, but I think it's a little more nuanced than that. I think there are reasons to run this one over the other one. It kind of relies mostly on lobby comp and map choice. She is very strong in the early race. She has a lot of goals to support that. Her unique will most likely proc in the early race. You are sacrificing all the late race potential that the OG Digiton has. Now, the thing is, a lot of medium and longer tracks, I think you prefer that late race unless you're really trying to vie for position. In the current meta with dominators and such, I don't think that the position is as important at the current moment. However, the late race unique base Digiton sometimes is partially eaten if you pass people too quickly on these very short tracks. So I think short tracks have additional value. I think in general, both Digitons are perfectly fine. I think that's why people are saying it's the side grade, because if you have one or the other, they're both strong characters. Let's be honest. Agnes Digital is one of the best characters in the game, the OG. This one, I think, is perfectly fine as well. Neither of them are the top meta. Obviously, I just won a champions meeting with base Digiton. She's just another character you can build that has a very high ceiling if you go and put the time into building her. So, as for that, the last thing to note is this is a double banner. Of course, there is Meisho Doto Halloween on the banner as well. So if you enjoy both Agnes Digital and Meisho Doto, you have additional value on this banner, because if you are pulling to 200, your pity is not wasted if you get one along the way. So if you care about both of them, let's say you have to pull the 170 for Agnes Digital and you get it, and you may be like, I like Doto too. So that extra 30 pulls is not that bad to get to pity and pull for Doto. Most likely you will be getting one on the way and pitying the other statistically. So that 170 pulls has an additional, a little bit extra expected value, because if you care about both characters, most likely you will be getting both characters in a spark. For the aptitudes, let's start talking about the character. She has one of the best aptitudes in the game. She can run almost every single champions meeting. Obviously, sprint tracks are a little bit tougher, but you can still get there with a double ping spark, of course, because it's short F, not short G. Longs are really the only ones that she can't naturally do. The big thing about her aptitudes is you have turf aptitude and you have dirt aptitude, medium and mile. All four of these are A, which means both 80% of the champions meeting she can run on naturally, and also you can loop with her very easily. Agnes Digital is one of the primary 4 or 5 characters that you really want to be running in your core loopa, because you can go and match and race match your affinities very easily. For strategies, she is primarily, I would say, a late surger or an end closer. She does have end closer B, particularly because of the position requirements at this time, but you can stretch her in the pace chaser position. It's just your unique does have a position requirement, although I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. For bonuses, they did not make it any less weird. You have 7% speed, 7% stamina, 8% power, and 8% guts. I think the only thing they changed was the guts used to be a wit 8% before, and yes, the guts 8% is slightly worse in most cases, but I don't think that matters too much. You're not really changing your deck because of Agnes Digital's um, bonuses. She just kind of amplifies pretty much every single tap that you actually do. So you're probably running 3-2 light hello or 2-1-2 light hello based on the strength of your speed and wit cards and whether or not you want to run a utility card or not. So in Grand Lab, I don't think your deck gets changed because of Digiton's bonuses. Her unique, the Moe Thanks for My Life, says, simp hard and increase velocity when positioned mid-pack or further back on a mid-race corner, and there are at least 3 beautifully radiant Umamusume nearby. This skill is very close to Umastan. Now, it's a little bit more finicky than Umastan, because I think Umastan is near count 2. It could be near count 3, but either way, there is race phase requirements. So this is a mid-race unique. It is locked to phase 1, which means anytime you see anytime you see in the dark blue zone of the game Torah diagram for the races, it is able to proc specifically only on a corner. So that corner not equal to zero equals zero means it has to be on a corner, which means it can't be on this backstretch. Most likely, this will proc very quickly on this first corner, assuming you're meeting all the rest of the requirements, which is first, you have to be fourth place or worse in champions meetings, fifth place in League of Heroes, of course, because it's order rate 40%. If you have at least 3 Umas in front of you, and also our near count greater than or equal to 3, which means there are 3 Umas in your vicinity. Now, in your vicinity is basically a box around you that is 3 meters in front and behind you, which is a little bit more than one singular horse length. The horse length is 2.5 meters and 3 lanes to the left or to the right of you. Most times this left to right isn't going to matter because in the mid race, most of the Umas kind of compress down into lanes 1, 2, and 3. Primarily, as long as you are close to 3 Umas, you will proc your unique. If 3 Umas get in Agnes Digital's vicinity, Agnes Digital simply explodes. And what happens when she explodes? You get a 0.35 second unique, which is, yes, less than a 0.45. But remember, this is mid-race on a backliner, which is rather rare. There are not many mid-race uniques on backliners. So it is rather unique in that respect. When you inherit it, it's only a 0.15, but it is not the worst condition in the world. You just may struggle if you are, let's say, a solo late surger or a solo end closer. Hopefully, in the positions where you're winning, if you're not proccing it early, you are in or close to the pace chaser pack, and that means it's a mostly front and pace lobby, and hopefully you are able to get it on this corner here in these medium tracks, let's say, and that would lead to speed carryover. So hopefully it's on some corner you are at least close to 3 of them, but I guess you would want to run similar styles when you're running this character because you would be proccing it rather early. And there is value to that in proccing it early. I think I have it down here. Yes, if it procs early, which it most likely will because it is first timing of satisfying all these conditions, but you definitely want to be taking the Uma stand skill that is on her as well so that you reach the front so that that changes into the unique. And a lot of times if it changes into the unique along with the It's On that she also has in kit that we'll talk about, you will find that she actually ignores PDM some of the time, if not a lot of the times on these shorter tracks. That's the unique. For her careers and events, she has 7 objectives, but she really has 10 races because you have to place third or better in 3 G1 races. There's 2 things of note in her career. First of all, you lose a summer turn because of the Japan Dirt Derby, and also you basically have Super Oguri senior year where you have to run 3 G1 races that do take your energy, and it's a really, really tough sometimes. The way that I think I personally mitigate it is I try to do either the Champ Cup or the Tokyo Daishoten. Obviously, if I'm behind on currency currently, I would skip them and figure it out later, but basically, this means it's really just like 2 in that senior spring. So it kind of makes it a little bit easier. This does happen after the mile CH, so it does have 2 additional G1s that you can do, whereas Oguri's is 2 that does not have the option of using Arima Keenan because she has to run Arima Keenan anyway. So it's kind of similar to that. It is a little tough in Grand Live because you are losing energy while you're doing these races, but I find that in general her career is perfectly fine to run because you have so much freedom in these early turns with basically just 4 races in the entire first year. Now, for her secret events, you're probably not running her base all-round ruler because you have to run the HJF, the Ohokusho, NHK Mile, both Mile CHs, February Stakes, Victoria Mile, and both Yasuda Keenan. Oh, sorry, one of the other Yasuda Keenans, and one of the other Mile Championships. And that's a lot of bonus races for Grand Live for something that's just simply 20 base speed power and Updrafters and Unyielding Spirit, which is not necessarily, it's fine. They're both perfectly fine. Unyielding Spirit is a good mile skill that's very cheap. Updrafters is for the back half of the pack for one of the accelerations that's slightly worse than stuff like Slick Surge. The one you may consider is MC Nambuhai does give some dirt skills for the dirt races and does give standard race awards plus some additional stats as well from base. Rapid Gain is basically a dirt version of Slick Surge, but it's full timing instead of half timing. Morioka Racecourse is obviously good on Morioka. So not too much in the secret events. You just either run the Nambu High or you don't. It doesn't matter too much. It's just additional story if you're interested. Her events are very good. Down in the dirt is a top-down option. You're either giving 20 power, or if it's dirt, you probably take the dirt version of Slipstream, and she's a charming character. On her first chain event of her costume, which is really nice because this means sometimes 10% of the time or 6% of the time, I can't remember which, you get Charming in Grand Live, which is really powerful. So on the first event, Charming is very powerful. Her second event is just Mile Straightaways, randomly 1, 3, or 3 with some bonus stats. And then finally, not to discount this, there is a mood up on her final event as well that you can choose in a top-down option as well. So 3 great costume events. I don't think there's been a character that all 3 events have been like very nice quality of life things, and I think this is where they start actually going and pumping up those costume events. Remember, you are still Agnes Digital, so you do have the cafeteria choosing whose lunch, whether you want Smart Falcon for top pick or vodka for acceleration. Most times you're probably just taking top pick for the parent because acceleration doesn't do too much at the moment, but I guess you can take it for the mile CMs. Otherwise, you are presented usually with one Umamusume quiz. It's at random for mile corners, Kyoto Racecourse, or Homestretch Haste. Obviously, Homestretch Haste is always good. Mile corners is good on the mile tracks, and Kyoto Racecourse is good on Kyoto. Her innate skills are updrafters, which lessens the effect of the secret event because you just get updrafters anyways. Umastan, and Forward March. Now, notably, the base Digi gets Super Stand. She still gets the base white version of Umastan. White Umastan is very good. It is desired on pretty much every single backliner because on the longer tracks, it can PDM break you. On the shorter tracks, it's still desired because it's a super cheap and efficient skill that most likely procs in the early game, which helps you get your position prior to that no zone that I was talking about before. It's just not the be-all end-all that it is in the longs and longer medium tracks. Forward March, the white version, is on level 4. It's the white version. It's a 0.2 excel still for those dirt tracks, and it's usually a secondary option. Her Golden 8 skills that she trades out Super Stand for are Can't Keep Me Down, which is a velo mid-race skill. It's like Fast and Furious, but only for dirt. Otherwise, in its 5th position instead of 4th now with the buff. And It's On. And It's On is really powerful because usually this will chain off of your unique, which kind of keeps this sort of PDM breaking chain further and further forward. You're going to find she pushes up in the pack just from her base skills quite frequently. And you go and you establish your position, and then you have to supplement with all the late race because that is what she is lacking. Very strong Golden 8 skills, particularly It's On is only on a couple of characters, so that is sort of her better thing than most of the pack is. For CM viability, if she has Aptitude, I think she's perfectly viable. I'm going to grab a drink real quick. Sorry, I've been a bit scrambled here, but this Digiton's perfectly fine. I know a lot of people are kind of, lukewarm on her. I think that's due to the fact that base Digiton is one of the strongest characters in the game. Let's be honest. It's like if you just build her right, she can go, and if you have enough speed, her alt unique is just so powerful. You are losing that for basically a ton of early race speed, which is useful. It's just in the current meta with dominators and stuff, it's a little bit tough at times because you sometimes will go and brick your standard excels as a backliner. Now, is there pace viability? Maybe. If there's very heavy pace viability, a lot of paces in a lobby, you could run her pace, and then that kind of establishes you as the front pace chaser because you have so much speed. That's an option. As a late surger, if you are running triple late, I think you're perfectly fine as well. If you're running triple backliner in general, I think she's fine. I'm kind of yapping about this because I don't really know too much about when this is going to be better than base Digiton. And that's really the problem, is that base Digiton is that powerful, and you have all this early race compared to Super Stand. And Super Stand is usually enough right now to grab you a good position in the early race. So maybe in the future it evens out a little bit. It's tough. It's really tough because right now we're having trouble as late surgers not being in 3rd place at times. And this doesn't really help with that. But I think in the future, as fronts and paces get better, I think this Digiton on the left will be able to keep up with them, and that is very valuable because she can still hit her unique her and hit in Excel in the late surge position, and that may be valuable more on those miles and those sprint tracks as well. So that is going to be my initial thoughts for CM viability. I'm much less certain of this one than other characters, just due to the strength of base digi as well. But do note again, if you don't have base digi, she's on legend races first of all, but this one is a very serviceable Digiton as well, in my opinion. All right, let's go to things I know a little bit more about. Affinity. Her affinity is with everybody. Seriously, it's like 3/4 of the roster she has plus 20 or more. So she's very, very strong in that respect. And mostly, again, she has both Vodka and Daiwa Scarlet are her highest at 37 and 34. But even then, her looping is very powerful with the turf, dirt, mile, and medium aptitude. But again, base digi has super stand, which loops in Umastand, where it's on loops in ramp up. And while yes, you would want both of them in a loop, Umastan is the much, much harder one to actually go and continue lineages on. So if you have base digi, she is slightly better because of that, whereas this Digiton does ramp you into ramp up, but you can always go back to Unity and grab ramp up, where you can't go back to any scenario and grab Umastan. So again, this is just a secondary looping option. If this is the first Digiton for you and you have already been planning and putting aside carrots for this is a massive increase for you on your core Lupa if you do not have high dirt aptitude characters that can naturally proc dirt sparks. All right. So in conclusion, again, CM stuff, we're gonna see it in the future here. I think she's perfectly fine. I think she's mostly gonna be the mile version of Digi. I think you probably run her on those miles where you have that final straight where the base Digi unique can get partially eaten, and she doesn't have that lane movement on the final corner during the late race to make it so that she has that massive speed boost. That's the CM. She's a perfectly serviceable Digiton with very good skills, very good parent as well. Perhaps not as good as the base version, but I don't think that that's going to matter that much. And if you're an Oshi player for this one, she has a very cool skin. The only problem is that why is this a Halloween skin? There's really nothing scary about it. Uh-oh. Burbout.